You know, I was feeling good last week. Beginning of last week, I was feeling good. I thought I got plenty of time. I'll take it easy for this week. It's playoff baseball. I mean, that's my excuse. I'm going to blame all this on playoff baseball. Took it easy. Now this week, I'm thinking, I still feel pretty good, but Halloween, it's quick approach, and I'm a little nervous. I probably shouldn't have taken all last week off, but I did, and it is what it is. Now it's got to get rolling. So I was working on my skull. Man, super glue is doing the trick. It is cryoannulate. What is it? I don't know. I call it CA glue. Cyanoacrylate. CA glue. Man, this thing, the plastic's working great. I've got some gaps. I know I have some gaps. I will be able to fix that. I think if I just use acetone and plastic and create a little putty paste, you know, I don't need it perfect. I mean, if this thing is rough, that's great anyway. But you can see, man, it's coming together, you know. It looks a little goofy, but it's good. I put some foam, glued some foam and contact cement in here just to pad my head because this thing is hard plastic. I don't want that against my head. So I'm probably going to trim these things down in half because I just use the normal thickness of the foam, and it's a little thick, man. I need this thing a little tighter to my head. But all in all, you know, you can start to see it. It actually looks like a thing. I'm going to have the bottom half mask. You know, I wanted to see the skull jaw through it. I don't know how that's going to work. This thing was in multiple sections. I'm just not sure that's feasible, and so I may have to bounce on that. I need to get material for my tabard. I don't know if I can find material. I'm going to look for that. I've not done that yet because, like I said, I've been putting everything off. I'm going to do the hood. I have the pattern. I just need to start doing that. Dye the black, dye the red, get it going. Because I'm trying to batch everything to where everything I dye, black and red, I do at one time. Which means I need to go ahead and cut out the hood, get that pattern set. I think it pretty much is. You know, there's a little bit of question like how it loops around my shoulders and back. It's just kind of hard to tell because there's hormones on everything. But I think I'm like this close to that. I need to do the G, the undershirt. That, you know, I'm making it a little more fanciful than what is in the reference because I want full sleeves. I want the diamond sewn pattern. And basically, I'm just going to take a shirt and model it off of that. That's going to have red underneath the arms. And so I just want to dye everything at one time. I don't have to keep doing things multiple passes. You know, like all my armor. I want to paint the shoulder, the bracers, the shin armor all in one go. It's all the same finish. And so trying to batch everything is slowing me down a little bit. Not actually slowing me down, but I'm bouncing around a lot. And I need to get some stuff done because I still don't have anything actually done. Right now, I'm going to keep working on this mask. I'm going to run these strips. Actually, I'll probably do this strip right here down the middle. Doesn't quite, yeah, like that. Run that strip right down the middle. The eyes and everything, I can bend in place. A little bit of heat. This thing will bend however I want it to. So I've been looking at this thing, trying to figure this thing out, how it needs to fit around my head. It's very curvy. I've straightened that out. And I think I didn't have to split the entire top. I think I'm going to be gluing the entire top right back where it was before because I just don't need it. I mean, I did need to widen the eyes. I can't really widen eyes so much at this point down here at the top if I'm going to put this back together. But widening the bottom, that might be enough to do what I need to do. I mean, overall, it's looking pretty good, and I really wish I hadn't cut the top, but at the time, it seemed like I needed to. I mean, originally the eyes were going to be about that wide. I'm going to bring them back into the top, but it's not shrinking it by too much because the bottom is so much wider. So I'm slowly getting there with this thing. I mean, thinking about it last week as I was delaying the inevitable, I thought, man, did I make a big mistake on this? Is this just too much trouble? Should I just have bought a latex mask and worked with that? But right now I'm feeling pretty good about this. I mean, this thing, I can kind of see the end of the tunnel. And if I glue the top up, once I connect that back, I can kind of make these conform to my head better. I've tried to straighten them out. Just my head is a little bit taller than this. This is a very kind of short, squatty head. Mine's a little bit narrower, taller, so I'm trying to make that work. And it is much better. It fits me much better working on it a little bit. But I need to take it just a little bit further. But let's check this thing out. It is looking more and more like a mask. We got something going here. It is glued down. It is clamped down. You know, the instructions say 30 seconds it's glued. I don't know if that doesn't apply to plastic or what. 30 seconds is not it. But I found that if you just clamp it, leave it for, I don't know, I've left it for, a couple hours. I've not timed exactly how long it takes to set. But if I leave this, I know it will be good when I'm done with it. So I'm going to very carefully move it out of my way, move on to the next portion of this costume. And I'm one step closer to having this mask just about done. It's looking a lot better after that CA glue, which is what I said in the beginning. I should use CA glue, and I just didn't have any. I was trying to make you know, use what I had, and sometimes you just can't do that. Finally got my chain for the kunai. Now, actually, this is way too shiny. I've got a friend that can sandblast it, so I'm going to sandblast it, see if I can get, you know, nice steel coating, then that way it'll be ripe for making a little dirty, a little grungy. Here's my leather. You know, the tabard has, like, leather going down each edge. Thought about trying to use this again, but I don't have any very long. I'd like to have one long piece, and this I've got is very long. And you see it looks a little ratty in places. I don't mind that. You know, I want this term to look used, like Scorpion wears it all the time when he's murdering people. I mean, not murder, incapacitating, that's a better word. So I think this is it. I mean, it basically just folds over the edge of the material, just a nice little fold about that wide. So I think this will be it. This will be another thing I have to dye black. So that's where we are. Closing in. So this is my plastic chain I'm going to be using around the belt. I mean, it is very close to this chain I bought. You see, I mean, great size. I want everything to kind of match up because I'm going to try to fake it like it's all real. And it's not because I'm an imposter, but that's okay. This is the pattern for my hood. I'm going to use a rotary cutter to cut it out. That way you're not lifting the material. That way you make sure your cuts are good. Because, you know, if you're cutting the scissors, you're lifting it up. It doesn't quite transfer exactly. I'm doing this material is very thin, so I'm going to do it 3 layers total thick just because I want the outside of the hood, which is black, to look nice, dark, and black. The inner layer, I'm going to dye red because that's what the reference photo is. And the outer 2 layers, I'll dye black. So you know, I don't want the red to show through the black or to dim the black or dull the black. So that's what we're doing. Now, there are pleats going across the hood, so I need to add about 4 extra inches just because that pleat kind of tucks in. So I need to remember that. And I'm just going to use a ruler because I want an extra 1 inch of hem. I don't know if it's hem, but it's 1 inch of extra material, like past where the end of the actual pattern is. So I have enough to fold back and create a, it's not a joint. I don't know, man. I don't sew much. I don't know the terminology. I guess it's a hem. I guess it's a hem. I don't know. So I always add extra material past the pattern so that I can fold it and attach it as needed. So sure, it would be better if my pattern had the extra 4 inches for the pleats. It doesn't. I don't feel like redoing it. So I kind of cut to the peak outermost point about right here of the hood. I'm just going to lower this whole thing down and cut kind of this peak. And then I'm just going to join them. And hopefully that's good enough. That's why I'm doing an inch extra so that whatever I need to take up, I can take off and kind of account for that. But I just don't have to do this thing all over again. I'm just freehanding this portion of it. I mean, again, an inch is a fair amount to where I can surely get my pattern back out of this. That's the goal, that's the hope. So now this is three pieces of material thick. Now that is only one side, so I have to do this again to get the other side. Always, yeah, because it is, I did cut this whole thing out. It is always good to make sure you're cutting enough. You know, I thought about doing 4, but I want to try to conserve material, but I just feel like, you know, 1 red, 1 black is too thin. I feel like I need 2 black just to make sure I get a nice color. All right, so it's time to start on the G, the undershirt. And this shirt, I've got it, I think I had this thing in high school, but it fits kind of snug, which is what I want because it's going to be the undershirt, so I don't want it billowed because of the positioning. And so this is going to be my starting point. I mean, the G, it's going to, you know, it comes across a little bit different than this, but this gives me a great starting point. I'm just going to put tape on this to figure out, the triangle underneath the arms. I want that red, the black, and how, I mean, these sleeves, I don't know how far I'm going to take them. Maybe, I mean, you can tell these sleeves are short. But I really don't need them longer than here because I've got the bracers that come up far. I've got the wrap. So really, it needs to be 3/4 length. So I'm just going to use tape, like tape off here, tape off how the shirt, the collar, I guess the collar needs to come across. The triangle, I'm going to tape right on this, and then I'll just use my paper, sketch right on top of the shirt. That'll be my pattern for the G. Because I mean, this thing, like, really, the length of it's good. Everything works out well. I just need to figure out. So I guess technically the G would just, I guess it wraps across. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I can always use Velcro. I could put a button here because you're not going to see anything other than just right here. That's the crucial part in the sleeve. And if I get the undershirt done, that way I can start dyeing everything I need to dye, and we're moving right along. That's what needs to happen because time is running short. So this material is thin. I mean, I don't know if this quite shows in the camera, but you can definitely see where my undershirt stops and my arm starts because, one's gray, one's white. I don't really want to do this whole undershirt double thickness. It's a ton of extra material. So I'm just going to consider single thickness. And I think the thing is, like the undershirt, if I just wear a long sleeve undershirt, I mean, really the only parts you're going to see are right here, underneath my arm pits. It's going to, or arms, underarms, my side. It's going to be a little bit more billowy. I'm just not doing double thickness. I mean, basically all you've missed is me trying this thing on and off, like making sure, all right, does the collar look right? Does it fall right? You know, how long do the sleeves need to be? I'm going to cut them, you know, I'm going to cut them right here at the cuffs on this, which is about 3/4 length for me. The armpit stuff, I'm just going to do that off the shirt and kind of wing it. And I thought I was going to do a paper template to then transfer the material, but that seems wasteful. I'm just going to, you know, use this to create the template for the material and just cut, you know, lay this down on the material, cut around it, and boom, we got a pattern. So that's the plan. I mean, I think I've got a pretty decent handle on this. You know, the great thing about material is that if you sew it wrong, cut the stitches and just re-sew it again until it's right. And if you cut the material wrong, cut it again right. So a little bit more forgiving than a lot of other mediums. So I think we're ready to start cutting some stuff up with this bad boy. So this reference shirt is underneath it. I've taped out the edge of the shirt, and this is the excess material just so I have a little bit to hem. I am a little short right in here. If I have to, I'll either sew it short or just add in a little filler piece. I mean, it's not gonna be something you see very often, and I don't have to waste a bunch more material just for that one little bit. So this is it. So I'll just use my rotary cutter just to cut that line, and we've got sleeves. Now this is 4 pieces of material. That way I'm cutting out both sleeves, one fell swoop, which is the way I like to do it. Why cut twice when you just do it once? So here is the makings of the undershirt, the G. So I don't know, if you look at most like dress shirts, button-up shirts, they have a separate part that attaches to the front and back. That's what that is. Here is the front. You know, you've got the 2 different folds, and I didn't bring it all the way across. It just doesn't need to, so I didn't. I've got the sleeves, and it comes down and even has a nice curved tail like shirts usually do. And the first time I ever sewed, I think it was a pair of pants. I had a pair of pants that I looked at just to copy. As far as stitching, as far as patterns, as far as how everything goes, just looking at another piece of clothing is a great indication of how to put things together. When I sew this thing, I'm just going to look at the reference shirt and sew it that way. So these are side pieces. I want it red underneath the armpit. I mean, in the reference photo, everything is red and it comes down, cuts really low, almost to the waist. Didn't want to do that. I want sleeves. But I wanted a red stripe underneath the armpit. Well, I cut the pattern from the shirt and then I just cut this. I added an inch when I originally cut it, so I got enough space to make all those seams. Seams. I was trying to think of the word. I was saying joints. It's seams. Well, I accidentally cut this too short. I should have cut it 3 1/8. I cut it 2 3/8. So 5/8 of an inch. Too short. Doesn't matter. I'm still just going to do it. I mean, it's still a stripe. I mean, it'd be like, what, that much wider? Not a big deal. I'm rolling with it. I'm not recutting everything. I just have no desire. But that is it. That is going to be the undershirt. I just need to dye the pieces that are red. It'll be this piece. Oh, you know, I guess I need to cut this. Unless, yeah, I need to cut this part of this shirt out because that triangle right at the neck is red. I do need to separate that out because I don't want all this red because then I need this black for the stripe. So I'm glad I'm filming this video because I just realized I need to make another cut up here. Look at that. I got that triangle cut. Now, the way I did this, since I cut the whole piece and then I just cut this back out, is that I did not allot any extra material for a seam, but I did at all the edges. So basically, I'm just going to make this seam as short as I possibly can, so I'm not stealing space from anything else. I mean, there's enough give everywhere else that it'll be okay. I just make this seam short, and that's where it is, man. This thing is just looking good. I'm excited. I'm making progress. I may actually get this thing done before Halloween. Check it out. This thing is looking really good. I buttoned up the top. It kind of fixed the shape of the entire dome. I have not buttoned up this part. I'm going to have to, I don't know, do some pushing and trimming. It doesn't quite fit in there, but it's close. We'll have to add a few turns in here. But, man, overall, I'm really liking it. It looks good. I look like half a skeleton. But, man, I'm digging it. And so the sunglasses don't quite fit in there. I put them in there just because I wanted to see how it looked, get an idea. So, man, it's rough. I'm probably going to take glasses apart, but I mean, look at that. It's just like those soulless black hole eyeballs. I love it. It looks good. Now, actually, the thing is sticking way far off my face because these glasses, because they don't, you can tell they don't fit in there very well. I think I'm going to have to split the lenses apart and then twist them a little bit to get them in there just right. I'll probably contact cement or super glue them in there. I'll probably super glue them in there, then you just to get a quick fix, and then contact cement, something more permanent. But this thing's looking nice. Now, I mean, the next step is to get my half mask that will mask the bottom half of my face. But I couldn't do that until I have this, so I know kind of where to butt up against the cheekbones. And basically, it's going to join right up. I'll probably just glue it right to this. So there's no separation I have to worry about. It's just one big face mask and probably maybe some elastic or something to tie to my head. I mean, I have a hood on there. I mean, It's like, I like that little twist, the little skull for Scorpion. So yeah, oh, that's cool. I mean, it fits my face halfway decent as is. So once I do a little bit more trimming and fixing, it's gonna be good. So the plan of attack right now in this moment, I'm gonna glue this skull to this belt because it just needs to be done, and I'm tired of seeing it not attached. A little bit of contact cement will take care of that. All my reds from the interior of the hood to the neck of the G to the underarms of the G, they're getting red. They're in the dye bath right now. Hopefully in an hour, hour and a half. I'll probably leave it 2 hours. I'm one to overdo it rather than underdo it. They should be nice scarlet red that will match the little towels that go around the belt. When that's out of the dye bath and the sink is cleaned up, the black of the hood of the G and the belt, all that's going to go in the black dye bath, and hopefully that'll get done. And that should be most of my colors. I may still have to dye the tabard yellow. It depends on what material I find, whether that'll work. The cords that go on the shoulders, I need to double check my reference, but I think I need to dip those in black really quick to get them a kind of grayish, darkish tinge, and then dip it in yellow real quick. So I think the end result is kind of a goldish, dirtyish yellow type color. I'm not going to buy gold dye. I don't know if you even could, but I think a little bit of black, a little bit yellow, I think it'll be fine. I could always, use a little bit of paint or something, to mist it. That's the plan there. So these things should be going quick, man. I'm hoping to actually see some stuff because I would love to get some of these cloth goods sewn up. I want to see something done. I've been working on this for a little bit, and I don't have anything actually complete. Everything is in various stages of halfway done, so it'd be nice to get it done. So I dyed some of my cloth goods red. That is a very bright red, almost, not quite pink, but just really bright. You look at the bottle, it's not that far from the bottle. I think it's a white base. I really liked how my leather turned out. That was a dark bluish grayish base. That it's a little bit darker, which I'd prefer. So I'm thinking what I might do is just kind of dip this into black real quick, maybe 2 or 3 seconds, just to darken up a hair. I don't want it super dark, but it's too bright for my tastes. So I wiped this stuff down with some acetone, and a lot of color was coming out. And it's still it was a little tacky before. It's not really tacky anymore. It's got slightly tacky, not like it was before. But I kept wiping it and color kept coming off. I don't know how far I could go with that because I just got tired of wiping it down. But it was a little bit darker brown than this. Now it is, now it's a little more orangey. So you can see that is what the color used to be. So it is quite a bit lighter. It was really sticky after I did it. Acetone can do that. Hopefully it dyes. I was going to dye the leather for the belt and the cloth goods. They all go black. I was going to do them at one time, but with the tackiness of this, I'm just a little concerned about what might happen or not happen. I don't want it messing up my cloth goods, so I'm going to do everything separate. So this is the results of my last dye job. And this is supposed to be black. The only thing I know to do is try to dye it again because that is just nowhere near black. This was dyed to the black. Look at that. The front didn't dye at all. The back, it's still a little damp. That does not look very black. I don't know what was up with this leather. It did not take dye at all. And this, I'm thinking maybe my lesson is, if I want black material, just buy some black material that's already black, because dyeing has not been very good. But I do think this stuff will dye. I think trying to dye it again should help. I'm hoping so, because if not, I'm running out of options. This is the awesome material I got for the tabard. I like the weave of it. It's a little bit thicker, which is what I prefer. Now it is kind of brown. That is not a problem. I'm hoping that will make the yellow a little bit darker because the only yellow dye you can find is pretty bright. So I'm hoping this will dull that a little bit to get kind of that classic Scorpion look. Here is my old tunic out of wool that, didn't dye at all. So I'm just going to use that as a pattern to cut this stuff out because I don't want to dye all of this. I'm hoping I'm going to have some extra. I always like to have a little bit extra, and I can use that in some future project. Man, I took a week off, and I've had trouble getting motivated to get back to this. It just, part of it is all this dye stuff that is not working out, and that's kind of the trick to these costumes, is that when you run into issues, you just got to power through, you got to keep going. The fact that I have a hard and fast deadline, well, that makes it a little more likely for me to just keep going, because I know if I don't meet that deadline, it's over. It's no good. It's just a waste, a wash. But I've just had trouble from the start dyeing stuff, and I've dyed stuff before. I've never had this many issues. I don't know what it is. I'm hoping the tabard comes out yellow, even yellow-ish. I'd be happy with, because if it doesn't, I'm just gonna be tan Scorpion. I guess I could always go back to gray Scorpion with the wool that didn't dye, but I feel confident that this upholstery will dye. I sure hope so, because if not, it just is what it is. I'm just gonna have to use that and go forward with this. Even the red I dyed for the undershirt. That I was hoping to get a nice kind of burgundy, maroon, not maroon, kind of like a scarlet red, you know, a little bit like this. The leather dyed about this color. The undershirt did not. So I think what I should have done is just taken the shirt, cut it up to fit the undershirt. That would have been a lot better because this color is right on. What I dyed did not. Now I darkened it up a little bit. I dipped it in some black. It looks better. But I'm looking at it right now. I'll show it to you. It doesn't look right, man. Look at that red. That is not the right red. It's way too bright. It looks almost pink. How do I fix that? It's a good question. I mean, I dipped it in black. I was hoping I'd darken it up. I'm probably going to dip it in black again. Because if I can get it darkened up just a hair, I think that'd be helpful. So here are the results of the yellow dye. I wish it was a bit more vivid. I think it looks a little yellower in person rather than on the camera. But this is not bad. I will take this. I kind of like this. Unfortunately, I just kind of put it all in the tub, let it dye, and you can see how uneven I can get. This end is darker than that, so I'm going to have to dye this again. You know, they say stir it. I figured, it's water, it'll soak. Doesn't soak. But I don't know. I mean, I'm happy with it. I wish it was more yellow. Maybe if I dye it all again to help even it out, that might help. But I'm not buying any more cloth. I'm not going through this again. I will re-dye this, but I'm not buying anything else. Check this out. So I did re-dye the yellow. It's just a bit uneven. I used the synthetic dye. I don't know if that makes a big difference. I mean, this rope, I know this rope is 100% cotton. You can see that has a very nice color. I did do this on the stovetop. Found a big a big pot. I heated it, had it on the oven for an hour. Stirred it for 30 minutes. So, is it the process that made it better? Is the fact that it's synthetic dye that made it better? I don't know. But I'm very happy with this color. It is not the bright yellow you typically see in Scorpion. It's not even this bright. Now, this is a little bit more mustard, a little bit darker, because the material I started with is a brownish, dark, a little bit slightly dark color. But I like that. I did not want bright yellow. I want something a little darker. And that is doing the trick. I really like how that came out. Here is the leg armor. I've got it done so it will clamshell front to back. Now you can see where this ridge splays out. Well, that rope goes right on top of this ledge and comes under this ridge. So it looks very tall from the bottom, and it may need to be that this just needs to curve out more onto the shoe. I'm going to look at some reference photos, but I didn't know this top, well, that rope goes all the way around, so that's kind of my reference point. No, I like it. It needs a little bit more heat shaping to kind of fit the ankle. It gets a little wide at the bottom, but I'm liking it. It's looking good. I mean, I shaped the back. The back of the calf part looks really cool. Now, I'll probably just do the poly webbing and Velcro. Probably glue it on one side, Velcro it on the inside, just so this will hold together, and I have some good reference points. You can see it doesn't quite get together perfectly. I may just need to be some more, yeah, I don't know, it might need a little bit of trimming to get this thing quite right. You can see it hangs down very far. This should hit about the top of my heel, so I'm going to check that out, but this is it. I've done both sides, and I've heat treated it with the heat gun. I've shaped it, I've done my relief cuts in the back, so it looks pretty good. So I'm hoping to paint it soon, but first I need to make sure it's fitting right, because I don't want to paint it before trimming it, because you can see this edge extends a little bit far, as does this back edge extends a little far, so I need to trim some of that stuff, and I don't want to have to paint something twice. So I re-dyed the red. It came out really nice. This looks a shade dark to me, but it is still wet. I just pulled it out of the pot and rinsed it, so I think that's going to lighten up a shade or two lighter, which should put it just absolutely perfect. All rags is the tabard, man. I love this color. It came out just exactly like I wanted. It's not quite mustard yellow, but it's a little more brown than regular yellow. I mean, it's just absolutely great. It dried and just perfect. So what is the trick? I wish I had a great concise answer of why the second round of dye worked better than the first. What did I change? Well, I did it on the stove. I've never dyed anything on the stove because I don't want dye everywhere. There's just the potential to get it you know, to dye your sink, to dye your stove, to dye everything a color. And I don't want to do that. Never wanted to do that. And I've dyed 2, 3, 4 things in my utility sink down in the basement. Never had an issue. Things have dyed the way I've wanted them to dye. But I did it on the sink. I kept the burner going. Very warm temperature, probably 180 or so, I would guess, the whole time. 160, 180, which is hotter than I could do it down here. I was heating water in the microwave, pouring it into the sink, trying to keep the temperature hot. I mean, I started with warm water, but that's probably only 120, 130 degrees, so definitely hotter water. I did put a squirt of dish detergent in with the dye this time because the directions say to do it. I was like, all right, well, let me follow the directions to a T, trying to get this thing to work out better. I'm sure it helped that I had a base dye color on all these things, that I'd previously dyed them. If I'd started with my first color and did it this way, would it have worked perfect and gotten the same color? I kind of feel like it would have, because I mean, these colors are so vivid, so dark. It also helped that I used a little bit more dye. I was trying to be conservative in the dye I used before, using, you know, quarter to half the bottle. But I know, like the black, I used half the bottle before in the utility sink. I used half the bottle on the stove today. I don't think it's dye usage. I mean, I probably could have used a quarter of the dye this time. So all I can say is it's probably the heat. I don't know, man. I did use a little bit of salt. The directions say a little bit of dish detergent, a little bit of salt. I mean, I'll follow the directions of the T, trying to get this thing to come out, because I just needed these colors to come out. And they did. They look great. What kind of fluke allowed me to dye things in years past that didn't work this time? I just don't know. Check my hands out. They're dyed black. When I was pulling my black material out of the pot, I should have worn gloves to wring it out and rinse it out. I didn't, so, you know, I've got a nice shade of dark to my hands. That's okay. I'm sure it'll wear out eventually. I had some trouble. You know, I tried to dye the belt leather black. That did not work out. I did a test piece of leather today, dyeing everything again, and that worked out pretty good. So I think I'm going to just use a new piece of leather for the belt. The stuff I used, I don't know why that didn't work, and I don't think re-dyeing is going to work, because it did not take to dye at all. That's where we are. I mean, these are notes. Basically, these are notes of my future self. I'm like, yeah, how do I dye stuff again? Because obviously I have no clue. I'm going to look back on this video.